Have you ever picked up a hitchhiker? It's a gamble, right? You never really know who you're letting into your car. But what if the person you pick up isn't a person at all? Tonight, we're rediving deep into the creepiest corners of Reddit to bring you 3 supposedly true stories about encounters with hitchhikers that were anything but human. So buckle up, lock your doors, and let's hit the road. Our first story comes from a user named Desert88A, a long-haul trucker who spends most of his life on the empty highways of the American Southwest. He says this happened about 10 years ago on a desolate stretch of road in rural New Mexico. It was well past midnight. The moon was just a sliver in the sky, and he hadn't seen another car for at least an hour. Suddenly, his headlights caught a figure on the side of the road, thumb outstretched. It was a woman, wearing a simple, old-fashioned floral dress that seemed out of place for the chilly desert night. He was hesitant, but something about her looking so vulnerable out there in the middle of nowhere made him pull over. As she guts, in a wave of cold air filled the cab, but he chalked it up to the door being open. She was pale, with dark, hollow-looking eyes. She told him her name was Eliza, and that her car had broken down a few miles back. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. He tried to make small talk, asking where she was headed. She just pointed a long, slender finger forward and said, "Just up the road a ways." They drove in silence for about 15 minutes. The trucker started to feel an overwhelming sense of dread. The air in the cab grew colder and colder, and he could see his breath in the air. He glanced over at her. Her skin seemed almost translucent in the dim glow of the dashboard lights, and her eyes. They were completely black. No whites, no iris, just 2 dark, empty voids. He gripped the steering wheel, his heart pounding in his chest. He wanted to scream, to stop the truck and run, but he was frozen with fear. He risked another glance. She was still staring straight ahead, her expression blank. Then, she slowly turned her head to face him. A faint, unsettling smile spread across her lips. "You can drop me here," she whispered, her voice now sounding like dry leaves rustling. He slammed on the brakes, the truck screeching to a halt in the middle of the empty highway. He didn't even wait for her to get out. He just stared forward, praying she would leave. The passenger door opened and closed. He waited a few seconds, then peeled his eyes away from the road to look at the passenger seat. It was empty. He looked in his mirrors, scanned the road behind and in front of him. Nothing. She was gone. He floored it and didn't stop until he reached the next town, where he sat in a brightly lit diner until the sun came up, shaking and trying to make sense of what he'd seen. He swears to this day that he gave a ride to a ghost. Our second story is from a college student who was driving home for winter break. Let's call him Mark. He was on a lonely country road in the Pacific Northwest, a shortcut he'd taken a dozen times before. It was snowing lightly, and the world was quiet and white. Up ahead, he saw a man walking on the shoulder of the road, wearing only a thin jacket. Feeling sorry for him in the freezing cold, Mark pulled over and offered him a ride. The man gratefully accepted, climbing into the passenger seat and bringing a gust of impossibly cold wind with him. He was an older guy, with a weathered face and kind eyes, but he was unnervingly quiet. Mark tried to start a conversation, asking the man where he was going. The man just grunted and pointed up the road. Mark noticed something strange. Despite the heavy snowfall outside, the man had no snow on his clothes or shoes, not a single flake. The windows started to fog up from the inside, but the patch of window next to the old man stayed perfectly clear. Mark felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. He turned the heat up, but the cold seemed to be radiating from his passenger. Mark started to get a really bad feeling. He glanced at the man and saw that his skin was pale, almost gray, and his eyes seemed unfocused. He looked like he was staring right through the dashboard. The silence was becoming unbearable. Mark decided to turn on the radio, hoping some music would break the tension. As he reached for the dial, his hand brushed against the man's arm. It was ice cold, not just chilly from the weather, but unnaturally, deathly cold. Mark pulled his hand back like he'd been burned. He looked at the man's face again. This time, the man turned to look at him. His kind eyes were gone. In their place were dark, empty sockets. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Instead, a cloud of frosty air escaped his lips. Mark screamed and swerved, nearly crashing into a snowbank. He slammed on the brakes and yelled for the man to get out. The door opened and closed. Mark didn't look. He hit the gas and sped away, his heart hammering against his ribs. When he finally dared to look in his rearview mirror, there was no one there, just his own tire tracks in the fresh snow. When he got home and told his parents, his dad went pale. He explained that 30 years prior, a man had frozen to death on that exact stretch of road during a blizzard, trying to walk home. Our final story tonight is perhaps the most bizarre. It comes from a user who was driving through the forests of Northern California with his girlfriend. It was late afternoon, and the sun was casting long shadows through the giant redwood trees. They saw a hitchhiker standing by the road, but this wasn't your typical hitchhiker. He was tall and extremely thin, wearing a slightly too small, old-fashioned suit. But the weirdest part was his face. It was long and narrow, and his smile was stretched just a little too wide, showing too many teeth. It looked wrong, unnatural, against his better judgment, and urged by his girlfriend who felt bad for the guy. He pulled over. The man slid into the back seat. "Where to?" the driver asked, trying to sound casual. The man just giggled, a high-pitched, unnerving sound. "Forwards is fine. Forwards is always fine," he chirped. The couple exchanged a nervous glance in the rearview mirror. As they drove, the man in the back began to hum a strange, discordant tune. The driver tried to ignore it, focusing on the winding road. But then, he started to hear a faint scratching sound coming from the back seat. He glanced in the mirror and saw the man scratching at the car ceiling with long, spindly fingers. The girlfriend whispered, "What is he doing?" The driver just shook his head, speeding up. The humming got louder, and the scratching became more frantic. Then, the man started to laugh, a cackling, unhinged sound that echoed in the small car. "Almost there. We're almost there," he shrieked. The driver looked in the mirror again and his blood ran cold. The man's face seemed to be changing. His eyes were getting bigger and rounder, glowing with a faint yellow light. His smile stretched even wider, impossibly wide, and his body seemed to be contorting, unfolding in the cramped back seat. He didn't look human anymore. He looked like a giant insect folded into a suit. Terrified, the driver swerved to the side of the road and yelled, "Get out!" The back door flew open, and the thing scrambled out, moving with an unnatural, jerky speed. It unfolded to its full height, easily over 7 feet tall, and skittered into the dark woods on long, thin limbs. They didn't stick around to see where it went. They drove straight to the nearest police station, babbling about a man-bug in a suit. The police, of course, found nothing. The couple never took that road again. So, what do you think? Overactive imaginations, or genuine encounters with the paranormal? These storytellers on Reddit swear they are true. It makes you think twice about who or what you might be sharing the road with in the dead of night. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had a creepy hitchhiker experience. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more terrifying true stories.